The Orlando Magic suffer another loss, this time at the hands of a very good Western Conference foe, the Houston Rockets. They fell 97 to 84. That was last night. Today we're going to be talking about that game, some of the biggest takeaways, and why Orlando Magic fans and myself have had enough. There are some real problems with this team, and we're going to get into all of that today in this video here on Magic Digest. Guys, welcome in. I'm your host, Patrick Previty. This is your one-stop shop for Orlando Magic basketball content here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. 75% of you who are watching these videos regularly aren't. So join the 25%. It greatly helps the channel. And we've made it to 900 subs. Let's try to get to 1,000. Make that final push. Okay, so last night's game was a bit of a mixed bag. In the opening quarter, this team shot extremely well. They made 5 threes, and I believe they were 5 of 11 from the three-point line, and the Houston Rockets weren't exactly shooting all that well. At a certain point, the Magic were up 19 to 10, and then it kind of just fell apart from there. Despite forcing a lot of turnovers, it was Steven Adams and company who were able to get a ton of offensive rebounds and kind of negate the turnovers that they were committing. The Orlando Magic couldn't keep up whenever the Houston Rockets ended up having their shooting and their shots fall as the game went on. And unfortunately, it was the Franz and Paolo plus nobody else show. Unfortunately, as well, Franz kind of, as the game went on, wasn't able to really get going either. That's why you saw 84 points from the Orlando Magic. Still, at the same time, Paolo and Franz combined for scoring and assisting on 49 of the team's 84 points. Pretty much half of the team's production came from those two individuals, and when we look at the bench scoring, there wasn't really much to be said. So, what are the final takeaways? What can we draw from this loss? Well, one, the Houston Rockets are a very, very good team. Steven Adams had a double-double at halftime, and Jabari Smith was in double figures, as well as Dylan Brooks, Sengun, Jalen Green, and as I mentioned, of course, Steven Adams. They were all in double figures, and for the Orlando Magic, they only had Paolo and Franz in double figures. It was Wendell Carter Jr., Cole Anthony, and Jonathan Isaac providing a little bit of help, but none of them cracked 10 points. 9 for Cole Anthony, 8 for Wendell Carter Jr., 8 for Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac had his points come later on in the game. Now, this bench is just not cutting it. As currently constructed, I don't know if there's a lot that Jamahl Mosley can do about the lack of scoring. It was another kind of cardio night for Gary Harris. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope seems to be in the doghouse because he got benched at a certain point in this game, and he did not attempt a shot. I believe that was the first time that he had not attempted a shot since his rookie year. It was the 9th in his career, and his rookie year he had 8 games where he didn't attempt a shot. He seems to not be as confident in himself, and Jamahl Mosley certainly is not reassuring him of said confidence, right? He's only kind of adding fuel to the fire. So KCP's out of it. Gary Harris isn't really putting in good minutes. And Anthony Black yesterday had 3 points, none from the field, all from the foul line. He was 0 for 4 in his 20 minutes of play. This bench was not good yesterday. Bataze, if you guys joined the live, I was preaching him. I wanted him in the starting lineup, and I felt like if we moved Wendell Carter Jr. to the 4, maybe that would fix the rebounding. Well, when Bataze got in the third quarter, he just absolutely crapped the bed, and he was no good. He committed a couple turnovers, had a couple fouls, and he didn't play well whatsoever. He got into foul trouble. He ended the game with 5 fouls off and 4 points in 12 minutes of play. He was not good at all. It was Jonathan Isaac in the front court who was pretty decent, but even he was getting frustrated with the tenacity that the Houston Rockets were able to have on the offensive glass. He got into it with Tari Eason late in the game. He was distracted. So nothing from Bataze, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac. Tristan da Silva had 3 minutes of play, which came at the very end of the first quarter. He had 10 minutes total for the game. Those 7 minutes that he added were very late in the game. I swear, I don't know if this is exact, he did not play in the second or third quarters. If he did play in the third quarter, it was late in the third, and if he did play in the second, it was at the very start of that quarter. He wasn't able to get anything going simply because his minutes were just all over the place. So you're wondering, where is the rookie? I don't know where the rookie is. He had 0 points, but he didn't have a chance to really get going and finding any rhythm. That's unbelievable. He didn't play basketball yesterday for a full hour in the middle of the game. So he wasn't able to get it going. There was a certain point when this bench only had 12 points to their credit by the time the fourth quarter started, and that was just unacceptable. And why you saw this Orlando Magic team just continuously slow down as the game progressed, and it just felt like it was getting worse. Can they get any slower? Can they get any more unproductive? Well, they continued to show that. They were 8 of 32 from 3 for the entire game and 32.6% from the floor. None of those stats are going to cut it. The Rockets didn't shoot well, as I mentioned. They still had 16 threes for the game. 16 of 43, 37% is a very good number. They had 39% from the floor. That probably tells you more of a story about how their offensive night went. Just a lot of second chance opportunities, was able to give them the opportunity to right their wrong and to make those threes, and it eventually fell. Now, they had some guys play extremely well, and I saw some comments about why does this always seem to be happening to the Orlando Magic, right? When a role player goes off against the Magic, it just feels like it's a more heightened thing when it happens against Orlando, because they don't have anybody that can match it. It's really, if a role player for another team goes off and is able to support their stars who aren't maybe producing in any certain game, then it feels like the Magic have to match it through only Paolo and Franz. They can't rely on a guy like Cole Anthony. Even though he's a bit up and down, he can potentially be that third scoring option. They can't rely on a guy like Cole Anthony. They can't really rely on Wendell Carter Jr. They can't really rely on anybody on the bench, and they certainly can't rely on KCP or Gary Harris. Unfortunately, it just seems like a more heightened issue because we can't match that. We don't have the personnel. And that brings me into the next point here. Jamahl Mosley. Jamahl Mosley last night showed a lot of the reasons why some people want him to be gone. There were moments in the game where I felt like he needed to call a timeout when there was a run being produced by the Rockets, and there were a lot of moments yesterday when I felt like the offense was just stagnant, and it wasn't exactly a personnel issue. It was Paolo and Franz are just feeling like they're just being suffocated by the defense. They need an easy bucket for this team. They need to be able to put their team in a position, get a set going, get something, maybe any sort of pick and roll game. It's just completely gone. This offense has zero creativity, zero production, and unfortunately, that does fall on Jamahl Mosley's lap. He's got to be able to fix that. He's got to be able to draw up something that's good. So both of those things can be true. That we don't have the personnel right now to be able to compete with the team if they were to score 115 points against us. Now, granted, the defense was pretty decent yesterday. It was just the offensive glass, but we don't have the personnel, and at the same time, Jamahl Mosley doesn't have the creativity. I still side with giving Jamahl Mosley another year because I believe he bought himself that in December, but this team certainly needs an overhaul. How many guys are going to stick around on this team if they were to make a deep playoff run? How many guys can you see in your head that could be on this squad if they got to the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't know how big that number is. I don't know if that number is bigger than 6, unfortunately. So that is a Jeff Weltman issue. Moving me into the next and final point, that this team didn't do anything during the trade deadline. That's why they're 30-36. On top of the injuries, we felt like we had a big enough sample size that we knew exactly what was wrong. This team's shooting and the consistent playmaking was just not there. Even with Suggs out there, it just wasn't available. Paolo and Franz dealt with major injuries this season. Before Jalen Suggs went down, we knew at that point, with Jalen Suggs being out, nearing the All-Star break, nearing the trade deadline, that this team just didn't have that it factor on offense that they needed. Maybe a couple more shooters would fix that. Maybe if there was a Jet Howard signing, he would fix that. He had 3 minutes yesterday, missed all 3 of his shots. Maybe there would be something else that we could count on, like a Caleb Houston. Trevlin Queen got 12 minutes of play yesterday because KCP wasn't able to do anything. Maybe one of those guys can step up, but we haven't seen that all year. So with no move being made, it really makes you question what this front office was thinking at the trade deadline. Certainly has been a lost season, 30-36 for the Orlando Magic. They go play the Pelicans on Thursday. Would like to get a win there because, the end to the homestand was nice with the win against the Bucks. But at the end of the day, we suffered a 5-game losing streak in the heat of a play-in race, and that is just not going to cut it. Regardless if this team does make it out of the play-in and they draw Cleveland or Boston, I think they go out in the first round if we see what we saw last night in a 7-game series. It'll be quick. It won't be 7 games. That's for sure. And the Magic won't win it. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. That was a all-encompassing recap of what happened against the Houston Rockets last night. I went live, and a couple of you guys stopped by, said hey, and we talked about the Orlando Magic. That was a great time. I'm going to continue to try to do those as the season goes on. So make sure to stop by. I'll be doing it once a week, and I'll try to announce it in the community tab when I am going live. It's a good time. Hopefully I can get my broadcast up to speed at the same time as the Gamecast is going on ESPN, but hey, that's for next time. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.